Today we're going to be working with the transparencies that coordinate with the rubber stamp line of Prickley Pear rubber stamps, and we're going to be focusing on a technique that deals with Copic markers, and it was developed by Boesel, and is basically a stained glass technique that we're going to be using with the Copic markers, with the Art Institute glitter glue, along with silver glitter. So I've pulled out my Copic markers, and I am using the Y38, and I'm going to color a little bit into my center with my yellow, which is also the honey color. I'm going to go over it with my pink, which is RV06. I'm just going to gently go over my colors and just kind of daub in color into my flower area here. And I'm going to work further and further out. I'm going to pull out my E08. I'm going to edge the very edges of my flower with my brown. And basically, I'm just going to color in my flower, and actually all the flowers in the pot, until I'm satisfied with how they look. I'm not going to worry about how neat I am with my coloring, because the stained glass technique and the glitter actually helps to hide some of those blending mistakes that you may make. So this is a pretty forgiving technique that we're working with here. And again, I'm just pulling with the colors that I like. Now I'm going to pull up my greens. I'm going to start with my deepest color here. And I'm actually using G28, which is the color that I'm using. That's with my darker green is what I'm starting with. Then I'm moving in with my G02, and I'm just going to daub out those colors and blend right over where I've started. And pull that color out and through, and you're going to see a really pretty blended look once we add the glitter. Now I'm going to pull out my Art Institute glitter glue. The nice thing about this glue is it's self-leveling and it doesn't bubble. So you can just take a very little bit and squeeze it and kind of pound it out onto your surface so it's nice and level and flat. And this takes a little while to dry. Probably be about an hour or two before it's fully set. So once you lay your glitter down, you're going to want to set this aside and let it fully air dry. Again, it takes about an hour or two depending on how much glue you put down. So we can move on to the rest of our project once we put our glitter down. I'm using Art Institute glitter, shiny silver glitter is what it is. And I'm just going to tap this on. I'm going to take the excess, I'm going to put it back into my little tin here. Kind of gently tap off the excess. I'm going to set that aside and I'm going to let it dry. So now that we have placed all of our glitter down and it is drying, I actually have a dry piece that I want to show to you so you can see what that glittered piece looks like when it's fully dry. So I'm going to take that one away, and again, silver glitter down and my Copic markers. And here is the final product. And when you're working with transparencies, it's important to keep in mind you always want to work on the back side of the transparency, which would be the printed side, or the side that has a little bit of tooth to it. And this is what it looks like when it's fully dry, so you get that really pretty stained glass look. You can see that all the colors have blended beautifully together. And now we're going to start working on the actual ATC portion of the card. So now we're going to start with the actual ATC portion of the card, and what I've done is I've taken two pieces of paper here. I have a piece of black cardstock, and then I also have a piece of book paper. The cardstock is cut to 2.5 by 3.5 inches, and the book paper is actually cut to 2.25 by 3.25 inches, so it fits evenly within the square here, within the black square. I have got my coffee stain stamp that I'm going to stamp randomly onto my book paper. It's going to give it a pretty distressed look. And I'm actually going to use my Distress ink by Ranger in its vintage photo that I'm using. So I'm going to ink up my stamp. And I'm just going to stamp randomly onto my book paper here. You can stamp it once, then stamp it again if you'd like, so you get a lighter look. And again, I'm just stamping randomly and into the corners. Now I'm going to pull out my Pebbles metallic cream chalks that I have. These are really super fun to work with, and I'm going to use the walnut browns, and I'm going to use the pinks because they're kind of going to go with the Copic marker technique that I've used, and it all fits into my color theme. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to rub my little applicator here into the walnut brown, and then I'm just going to swirl this in. It goes on kind of dark, but it's very pretty, and it's also very metallic-y. And the more I rub it around, the lighter it gets. So I'm going to stick with one color first. I'm just going to put it in randomly. I'm going to switch out and go with a little bit of a lighter brown. It's more of a coppery color. Add a little bit more into the other corner here. And again, this is strictly random. I'm going to switch out my little pom-pom one more time for the pink. And add a little bit of pink in there. Okay, and now we are done with the coloring portion of our ATC background. And it gives it a really very pretty distressed vintage kind of look using the Pebbles metallic cream chalks and the Distress Ink vintage photo colors. Now what we're going to do is we're going to adhere our transparency to our background, and what I have done is I've taken a couple little pieces of double-sided stick tape, and I have put one piece in the corner up here. We're actually going to cover that with a paper flower, and then I put more double-sided stick tape on the dried glitter. This is going to help hide the fact that there's tape on our transparency. So I'm just going to lay this down, I'm going to line it up, and then I'm going to flatten the whole piece together, and then we get a beautiful transparency right on top of our vintage background. We've created a little paper flower, and again I went ahead and put double-sided stick tape right there, and this is our little paper flower, and I'm just going to set this down in the corner, and then we're going to build our word phrase. Next we're going to stamp You Make Me Smile onto our little piece of paper right here. We're first going to start by edging our paper with our chalks, and we're going to use the pink so that it matches the tones of what we've already done to our transparency. So I'm going to grab my little pom-pom and my pink, and I'm just going to go ahead and take it and I'm going to edge. I'm going to flip it. I'm going to line it up nice and straight again. I'm going to rub my pink applicator with my chalk right over my edges there. Again, I'm using the Pebbles chalks. The metallic creams is what I'm using. And this is a really fun little technique to edge your little borders with. Now that I have it edged all the way around and I like where it's at, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ink up You Make Me Smile. And I'm using Memento black ink. It gives a really nice impression. Very nice clean lines. Just going to press down on that. I'm going to lift it away, and voila, you have a little You Make Me Smile. Just like that. Now I'm going to take it and I'm just going to finish it all up by cutting two little pieces of foam tape. I'm going to put a little piece right here on each side. Lift my tape. I'm going to grab my little piece of art that I've been working on, my ATC, and I'm just going to center it. And when you're done, you have a beautiful little vintage ATC Transparency.